So our next reader for the night is a Libra, power, also Libra, and a recent UNLV alum. I also asked her to choose between love or money, and she chose love. This is not surprising, as Venus is the ruling planet of Libra. Venus says that love fills us with the courage to know ourselves in ways we wouldn't without her. Venus goes retrograde through the same signs every 8 years. Examine what you were working through in 2009, 2001, 1993, and so on. This writer often deals with the supernatural in her work. For this Libra, I recommend a ritual during the next full moon on April 11th. Eat a basket of fresh strawberries, light one black candle, and walk backwards into the arms of your most beloved. Please welcome Oksana Marafioti.
So I did all that already the other week. It's not helping. My cat was, I think, terrified for, many days to come. I stepped on his tail, walking backwards. So apparently I have so many pictures of myself against this background in front of this mic that all of the relatives that live outside of US think I work here. So another picture probably coming up. Maybe I should turn this way because all of the pictures are this way. All right, should I? There you go. All right, so this work, some of you have heard. I read it in a workshop a little while ago. Can everyone hear me okay? And it's from a book I'm working on called Mr. Universe Wants to Live Forever. It's about the grand creator, the God, but not in a Judeo-Christian tradition, who decides to retire in Las Vegas. And his retirement lasts for hundreds of years. So he does all of these odd jobs. And I'm going to read two sections. The first one introduces him as Mr. Universe, and the second one as Talbot Ryder, a notorious 1970s rock star. So, here we go. Usually I have paper. We'll see how this goes. This technology. All right, so you call that half. The customer pressed a piece of the flapping tire back in place. There's still life in this here rubber. If I weren't retired, I'd patch it up myself. He chuckled. Got it? Tire, retired? The technician who had earlier introduced himself as Xavier didn't laugh. Sir, he said, it's illegal for us to fix it. Half of it is missing. Now don't be stupid, young man. A word with your supervisor and we'll get this straightened out. The old man waved in the general direction of the front of the tire shop. Lead the way, my misguided friend. Inside the showroom, chrome wheels hung on the walls like prized heads in a hunting lodge. The place, though void of customers or maybe because of it, sparkled. As the man shuffled to the counter, his trench... Hold on, what happened? Technology. Emoji, help me, emoji. All right, wait, sorry. Technical difficulties. I better keep a finger on this. All right, so the place void sparkled. As the man shuffled to the counter, his trench coat left behind a trail of fermented stench. Not at all what the prestigious Tire Gods company would call acceptable customer material. The manager came out of the back office. He'd switched his best smile on, but it cracked when the old man, in an all of his unsavory glory, reached his destination and leaned onto the counter. May I help you? The manager said. You may. The customer squinted at the name tag. Mr. Spencer Principal. Little grasshopper over there tells me I've got half my tire gone missing. When I dropped Eve off this morning, it was nothing but a hole yay big. He made a show of moving his thumb and forefinger closer together in slow motion, which I will not do because I have to keep a finger on the screen. With a somber expression, the manager watched until the customer finished his demonstration. Then he said, I understand how frustrating it can be to spend money you don't have, especially in this tough economy. Who said anything about spending? Watery eyes bulged. The man folded his crusty sleeves on the laminated surface, separating him from the 30-something with a hangover tinge to his breath. The manager crossed his arms. There isn't much I can do for that tire, and it'd be illegal for me to let you drive off the lot with it. So you're gonna keep me hostage until I buy a new one? Give an old gizzard a break, will ya? We have plenty of old ones. The manager's cheeks tightened in bravado. A slight tick pulled at the old man's left eye. I bet you do. Just then, one of the overhead lights gave a pop, sending a shower of white glass down to the tiles at the two men's feet. The manager covered his head with a shriek. Ever since the unfortunate incident involving a bong and a three-way light bulb, he had lost faith in modern lighting. The customer regarded his surroundings like someone about to regret nothing. His face has lost the amicable squint. A soft breeze fanned his trench coat and spiky hair. You listen to me, young Skywalker. All I've done my entire life is spend my energy, my goodwill, cheer, and all that crap. Now that I'm finally retired, you're telling me you can't make an old man happy? Do you know who I am? His voice held the undertones of a church bell. When the manager recouped from the light bursting, he came around the corner, a move one made only in those cases when a customer didn't respond as they should to a perfectly molded sales pitch. You can be God for all I care. God was the worst student in my class. The man bit out. The showroom began to shake. Lights flickered. The old man's feet lifted off the ground for just a split second, long and at the same time short enough for it not to seem real. He had suddenly closed the distance between them and was now staring with grave abatement into the younger man's eyes. Eyes that blinked several times in concession, but remained oddly quiet as if he had fallen under a spell. I am Mr. Universe, the customer said. I am the creator of everything you know, of all the worlds, of life's every fucking particle. The manager covered his face with shaking hands. His body leaned forward with effort not to get blown away by an invisible wind. And he said with a whine of someone who knew he was about to say the wrong thing, but couldn't help himself. Company policy states. You dare defy me? The manager nodded and looked through his fingers with a sheepish expression. Very well, the man said. I didn't want it to get this far, but my patience is waning. Fix my damn tire, or I will call your corporate office. Petrified, the manager could barely move his lips. You're a monster. Don't underestimate me, the man said. Silence. You've only just been promoted. Would hate to see you back to flipping burgers at Dave's Tender Chick. How did you know? A real smile warmed the customer's rough exterior. Terror looks good on you, Spencer Principal. I'm sure we can work something out, the manager squeaked. I'm listening. A brand new tire? He added quickly, free of charge, of course. What kind? I don't want no Sumamotos. Got a reputation to uphold. I understand. How about a set of brand new Coopers? Another shake. I mean, Michelins. The manager hurried to correct himself. The old man scratched his chin. My Eve would like that. Spencer hurried back to the counter as if it were an anchor to keep him steady and grounded and totally not freaking out about what just happened. From the shelf below, he picked up a thin booklet, the Tire God's Rule Book, which every employee had been trained to turn to in the same fashion a believer turns to a holy book. Mr. Universe was back to his breathy self, leaning on the counter like a regular Joe, not a bit intimidating. So I'll pick her up at 7 then? We close at 6, Spencer answered without thinking. There had never been a tornado in the middle of Las Vegas before, especially not one targeted so precisely at a local business. The store employees managed to flee before the building gave, all except for one, who now stood in the middle of the rubble that used to be the showroom, gripping the toasted remains of the Tire God's Rule Book. The paramedics led the men, who seemed to be suffering from acute shock, to the ambulance and laid him on the gurney, but as hard as they tried, they couldn't pry the book from his fingers. It took Spencer Principal only a few days to recover, but when asked, he had no recollection of events that had demolished the store. I don't know if I should read the second section. Do we have enough time, or should we move on? Who's in charge of this gig? Okay. I don't usually do this. It feels kind of weird, sorry. All right, so second chapter or second section is called Sophronia. Very likely her father had fathered more children than there were meth labs in Clark County. But Sophronia was the only offspring to ever attempt successfully to find them. Not an easy exploit in spite of the fact that one could still buy his vinyls on eBay. The first time she saw him, she swore that she'd been transported into a Dickensian novel, Mr. Scrooge grimacing down his nose through a pair of contemptuous dentures. He was nothing like the man she'd pictured. He was a bum, sandals tracking dirt over the shop's linoleum, grimy trench coat masked by ambiguity of color, leather pants 2 sizes too small with a button-down shirt half tucked in, short white hair spiked every which way. Deep grooves ran the length of his cheeks, and smaller lines netted the space between his eyebrows, as if he'd been dejected for so long that his face was now permanently stuck in the expression of scorn. Then again, maybe he was just not so glad to see her. When her mother finally surrendered his name, Sophronia Googled him, shocked when the search returned hundreds of result pages in just as many pictures, gritty photos of smoky stages and long-maned, sweaty rockers. In these images, Talbot Ryder, the frontman for Little Devil Rose, a notorious 70s rock band, appeared eternally caught up in a trance somewhere between rapture and pain. His long face was contorted over the microphone, vest flaps flying open to reveal a hairless chest, bell bottoms ringing. Turned out Talbot Ryder was a British legend plastered on many a teenage girl's bedroom walls. And when the girls became women, they commemorated their fantasies of him with tattoos, a large number of which now faded and sagged and generally lived out life in regret. Despite years of stardom, the infamous frontman proved difficult to trace, as if he'd gone into a witness protection program that actually worked. But Sophronia set her sleuth skills to work, locating his number through an online service that gave up the personal information motherlode for a nominal fee. Their first phone conversation was barbed wire sharp, but after she told him she'd be calling daily, would likely make a habit of it, he agreed to meet at Roberto's, his favorite neighborhood taco shop. Later, Sophronia found out he'd lied about that, choosing the farthest Roberto taco shop from his house as a precautionary measure. Loonies still hound me, he'd said. Gotta keep safe. But that was after he looked down at her face, faced like an occupied taxi, and said, "You're black." At first, the spark of defensiveness lit inside her, but that sly look gave him away. "No way, Grizzly Adams," she said. "Gonna take much more than that to get rid of me." During the 3 years since she found him, he'd been trying to prove her wrong. Okay, now I'm done. Thank you.